Hello everybody and welcome back to Starship Simulator. As promised, I wanted to go ahead and do a quick run through of the engineering cold start sequence. I don't necessarily want to do the tutorial, show you guys the tutorial for the scanning and navigation because I just showed you that in the last video. It's pretty simple and easy. It doesn't really require that much. The engineering cold start sequence is quite a bit more involved though, so I wanted to do a separate video on that just so you guys can see how in-depth they're going with this. And I truly appreciate that they're trying to add as much functionality and hands-on stuff to the system, to the game as they can. Again, I'm hoping that they're going to provide options to automate as much of that as possible. But there's all of that.
Welcome to the Magellan-class Cold Start training module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, we will review the correct procedure for starting up the ship's fusion reactor and then supplying power to the vessel. The ship is currently in a cold and dark state, so for your safety, I have taken the liberty of turning on your torch for you. To begin, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the lower floor of the reactor room.
So yeah, the tutorial takes you through a step-by-step process. You can start the game with the ship ready to go. You don't have to go through any of this if you don't want to. It's just for those people who are super hardcore, like, I want to do everything myself. I'm glad that they're providing that. That's a really cool thing.
The reactor is offline, and none of the ship's systems are powered. Our first task is to provide power to the engineering decks, so let's make our way to the start capacitors room. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to the startup distributor.
Start running a little bit.
As its name suggests, the startup distributor routes energy from the start capacitors to the engineering decks, and also provides the reactor with the power it needs to create the initial fusion reaction. You'll notice the device is already powered because the start capacitors are fully charged. Let's go ahead and get some lights on by connecting all of the breakers. Start with the G-deck breakers. And now the F-deck. And finally, the reactors. Excellent, now we can see what we're doing. You can go ahead and turn off your torch by pressing T. The reactor controls should now be online, so let's walk back to the reactor room and take a look.
Okay, got the initial power supply started up.
This console displays the reactor's vital information and provides you with full control over the reactor and its subsystems. On the left-hand side, we have the coolant section, which shows the liquid helium coolant flow and the condition of the magnetic field coils. On the right-hand side, we have the electrical section, which shows the reactor's main electrical bus, along with its input and output feeds. In the center, we have the reactor's main display, where we can control the fusion reaction itself. As you can see from all of these alarms, it would be impossible to initiate a stable fusion reaction under the current conditions, so let's fix that. The first thing we need to do is supply power to the reactor's internal bus, so go ahead and switch the reactor to startup mode by pressing the indicated button. Great! Now that the reactor has power, we can activate the vacuum pump to start purging the confinement chamber. The chamber pressure should now be dropping. To sustain a fusion reaction, we need an internal pressure of less than 10 nanopascals. While we wait for the confinement chamber to reach its target pressure, let's take care of the reactor's fuel and coolant supplies. Exit the reactor room via the door behind you, and follow the waypoints on your HUD to the cryogenic storage room.
All right.
These storage tanks hold all of the cryogenic fluids that are used to both fuel and cool the reactor. All 4 tanks are currently empty, so our first task is to begin the filling process. Let's start with the helium coolant. Head behind the storage tanks to access the helium cryocooler. The cryocoolers use a process called magnetic refrigeration to convert gas into a cryogenic fluid, before pumping it into the connected storage tank. Start up the helium cryocooler now. Excellent. Now, if you turn around, you'll find the helium refill valve located on the back wall. These valves control the flow of gases harvested by the ship's gas collection hardware, which is located on the underside of the forward hull. Go ahead and open the helium. If you turn around again and inspect the display screen connected to the helium tank, you should be able to confirm that the tank is now filling with fluid. We now need to perform the same sequence of events for the other 3 tanks. Helium-3.
I don't know, I never figured out how to tell whether it's filling up. I mean, there's numbers changing, so I guess the temperature is an indication of that, but I don't see a volume or pressure. The pressure's not going up. Not that I can tell, anyway. I mean, I guess, okay, well, I don't know.
And now open the helium-3. Next, we need to start filling the 2 deuterium tanks. So let's head over. Deuterium, also known as heavy hydrogen, is the second of the 2 fusion fuels. We store double the amount of deuterium compared to helium-3, because deuterium also fills the reactor's neutral beam injectors. As before, turn on the first deuterium cryo cooler.
I can see it filling up. Okay. I was looking for it here, not looking for it there. I tend to get super tunnel vision, so I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that there was a thing.
And now the first deuterium refill valve. Next, turn on the... And now the second deuterium Okay, perfect.
So now they're going to start filling.
All 4 storage tanks should now be filling with cryogenic fluids.
Okay, there it goes.
For our next task, we now need to engage the cryo pumps in order to start supplying the reactor with everything it needs. Make your way around to the other side of the tanks and locate the deuterium tank. Open the deuterium outflow valve. Next, power on the pump itself using the button indicated on its user interface. Excellent. That's half of the fuel mix taken care of. As before, begin by opening the helium, and now engage the helium-3. Perfect. All we have to do now is take care of the coolant flow. Head over to the helium. Now open the helium outflow valve.
I think we're missing a piece here. I think we're missing some pieces here. Am I losing my mind?
And finally, power on the helium cryo pump. There we go. The reactor is now being supplied with all the fuel and coolant it needs. Follow the waypoints.
I think something's not rendering there.
Where we have just a few more valves to open. To complete the coolant loop, open the helium inflow valve. Now make your way around to the opposite side. First, open the deuterium inflow valve. And now open the helium-3. Okay, great.
Alright, so now we got the fuel going to the reactor.
Take a look at the coolant. As you can see, we now have coolant flowing into the reactor. This has begun the process of cooling down the magnetic field coils, which must reach temperatures below 20 Kelvin in order to become superconductive. Once the coils have reached their target temperature, you will be able to engage the magnetic field.
Alright, so we're just waiting for it to get below 20 Kelvin.
Okay,
there we go.
The temperatures look good. With a solid vacuum established, the field... Congratulations! You have now successfully started the fusion reactor. For safety, the reactor automatically starts up at only 10% of its rated power. This means high voltage systems, such as the FTL drive, will be underpowered until you increase the reactor output. You'll notice that you can increase the power beyond 100%, but doing so for an extended period will overheat the reactor, causing damage.
So we've started power supply. Now we have some other things to do.
We now need to provide power to the rest of the ship. With the reactor now powering itself, you can go ahead and switch the internal bus mode from... Perfect. If we now head around to the
startup mode and then
the reactor,
regular running mode.
The output distributor should now be powered up. This device distributes the reactor's output to the ship's high voltage systems, which are in fact the only systems powered directly by the reactor. The rest of the ship is powered by 48 individual battery arrays, which we now need to begin charging using the reactor's output. Go ahead and connect all 5... Excellent. If you turn to your left, you'll see the 5 high voltage distributors are now coming online.
Weapons, shields, faster than light.
Head over to the main battery distributor.
Battery distributor.
This device takes the high voltage reactor feed and distributes it to each of the 8 battery rooms on F-deck. Go ahead and connect all 8 output breakers. Perfect. The battery arrays should now be charging, but we should perform a visual inspection to make sure. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to port battery room 1.
All right.
The electrical supply on Magellan-class starships is divided into 4 isolated quadrants: forward, aft, port and
battery.
starboard.
The batteries go all the way around, so we're doing this set right here.
Each quadrant is powered by 2 physically isolated battery rooms just like this one. Should the battery arrays in one room cease to function for any reason, the arrays in the second room will continue providing power to that particular quadrant. Similarly, power to one quadrant can be lost entirely, without impacting the supply to the remaining 3 quadrants. Okay, let's take a look at one of the individual... On the left-hand side of the user interface, you have controls for managing the input and output breakers. And in the center, you have controls and information relating to this array's 10 solid-state battery cells. If we did everything correctly, all of the cells should now be slowly charging up. For the next step, we now need to connect each of the 8 battery rooms to the ship's electrical grid. This task will take us into the ship's labyrinth of maintenance tunnels, so be sure to watch your head. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to port battery aggregator 1.
Okay, so just a quick little thing here. This room right here is basically this set right here. Then there's another one here. So this entire deck here is just a bunch of battery storage, is more or less what this is. And then we're going to go through and turn on some switches that connect all of these sections here. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to connect all of these batteries to the core. That's what we're doing right now. In case you somehow got lost, I just want to make sure you're clear on what's happening.
Each battery room has a corresponding battery aggregator, just like this one. These devices perform load balancing and also combine each room's 6 individual battery arrays into a single high-voltage feed. Go ahead and connect the out... Okay, 1 down and 7 more to go. As before,
okay, so
connect this aggregator's output breaker.
I don't really understand why. Oh, I guess it's one for each room.
Forward quadrant next.
I guess it's one for each room. Because there's port. So this is port. Okay. Okay. I think I get it now. Sometimes I need to learn things too. So there's a switch here for this room to go. There's a switch here for this room to go. And then each of these have switches that you have to do. So we have to do 6 more of these. So you basically have to run around like this.
Go ahead and connect
Switch that one
and
on.
the same again on forward battery aggregator.
Switch that one on.
Onwards to the starboard quadrant.
Oh, I got a little confused there. So you just run around the circle here basically. Again, I wouldn't want to have to do this a lot.
The second starboard aggregator. Almost done. Just the aft quadrant to go.
Wow, okay. I would say that if the developer happens to be watching this video, maybe
aggregator.
To help solidify this process in your head when you're learning this stuff, have us come back to these maps and do some kind of indication as to what it is that you're doing. Because you can say that there's port battery room and a forward battery room, but until you actually go look at a map, it doesn't really compute. It doesn't really compute until you can visually see what's going on. So some kind of map or something that helps you figure that out. Either have us walk to these maps and look at them as you're doing this, so I can see, oh, okay, this is what's going on right now. Then, because you can hear it, but until you can physically see what's going on, it just doesn't click. It just doesn't click very well.
Each deck in a given quadrant is fed by a deck distributor, which takes the total electrical load of that quadrant, and then load balances it between the 2 connected battery aggregators. Go ahead and connect the output breakers for all... Okay, now head over to the starboard deck distributor and do the same. And now the aft deck distributor.
I think making it to where you can click on these and then it just kind of auto-centers you onto the screen instead of having to manipulate it like this would be a little bit more efficient.
And finally, the port deck distributor.
Like you come over here and maybe you click on the screen and it repositions your character and automatically faces you in the optimal place to be able to just do that, and then it automatically puts you into this mode while you're interacting. You click on this stuff and then you click, maybe you click tab or escape or something to get you out of interfacing with this mode, and then you move on.
You'll notice, however, that the ship is still under emergency lighting conditions because F and G decks are still using the start capacitor's supply. To resolve this, we simply have to switch the 4 quadrant distributors on F and G decks over to the main battery feed. Head over to the G deck forward quadrant. That could be a toggle, because some people aren't going to like that, but just adding it as an option where you can say interface mode, lock into screen or something like that, because I personally would rather it just automatically center me and then I don't have to think about it. I can just click on the stuff, and then when I'm done with the panel, I hit escape or tab or whatever the back out of this menu key button it is that we assign to it, it backs you out, and then you're able to move on to the next thing. Each deck has 4 of these devices, 1 for each quadrant. They are fed by the corresponding deck distributor. Go ahead and switch this quadrant over to the main battery feed.
So again, maybe you can make it so that the screen here, as you're going through the tutorial process at the very least, has an option that switches this to some kind of graphic display that makes it clear what this is doing, because right now I understand that we're basically just trying to turn on the lights and everything, but I don't know, I just can't visualize where these controls are going. So, I don't know.
That's better. Now we can really see what we're doing. Now head over to the starboard quadrant distributor and do the same. And now the aft quadrant distributor. And finally, the port quadrant distributor. That's G deck taken care of. Let's do the same for F deck. Head upstairs to the F deck forward quadrant distributor. As before, and now the same on the starboard quadrant distributor. And again on the aft quadrant distributor. And finally, the port quadrant distributor. Well done. That's the main objectives of the cold start procedure complete.
Maybe a bypass button, like if you have it set up to where you want to go onto these screens, you have a bypass button that allows you to just click on it like this. I don't know. There's no universal solution. There's going to have to be something, but I think that for the most part, if I'm doing a bunch of engineering tasks, I'm going to want to go in, I'm going to want it to automatically center me instead of me having to fidget it to get it in the right spot to be able to look at something. And then I want it to automatically switch to this mode so I can efficiently do things and then exit the mode and leave. So I don't know. That's just the way I think about it. Oh, the list probably not. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Probably would have been faster just to run up, but whatever. I want to use the lift. I want to use the lift. We're supposed to be going to the bridge. Oh, it doesn't like that. Oh, you need to change that, my friends. Either make it so that the lift isn't powered, because I don't like that. I don't like being railroaded into having to do it a certain way. That's annoying. Have the waypoints be there, but have the bridge waypoint override everything else. That's the way that should be. That's the way that should be. I wanted to take the thing.
The lights and bridge systems are still turned off, so let's bring everything online. Head over to the A-deck distributor in the engineering alcove. Now go ahead and turn on the bridge lighting. And okay, there we go. You have successfully started the fusion reactor, routed power to all of the ship's decks, and brought the bridge online into a flight-ready state. This concludes the Magellan-class cold start training module.
All right.
Good luck, and I hope you'll join me again in future training modules.
So yeah, just like I said in my last video, I think going back through that stuff and trying to approach it from an efficiency standpoint and just making it so that, for example, I don't know, I can understand the thought process of wanting to have a checklist mentality where you actually go and physically look at a bunch of stuff, but making us run around the entire ring to go individually turn on each thing, I don't know, I can see both sides of that, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. The efficiency side of me is like, no, but the safety side of me is like, well, you would want them to actually go and physically look and make sure that there's no error states or anything like that. But then at the same time, all of those things that we did, you could do from a central panel in engineering, and that panel could show you fault states. So I honestly kind of would like to see, I like that the manual options are there. I'd kind of like to see a startup process that allows you to just do everything from a single panel. I don't know. Because I have to imagine, I guess it's not something you're going to do very often, so it probably doesn't matter. It's just, I don't know. I bring up these things because it's what pops into my head, but I don't know. I think that the panel part, like same thing for this, right? Like when we sit down in the chair, you sit down in the chair, and then I want to be able to click on this and go into look at this mode, right? And then, once I click on it, and then I'm just able, it just puts me in this mode. And then if I want to look at something, I just hit the back button, it puts me into looking around mode. And then I click on this again and I'm back into interfacing with this mode. So I'd like there to be some kind of, at the very least, I'd like to see some kind of a panel interface mode that when you know, maybe it's an option in the menu that says, if I click on this, because some people are going to want to be able to just, they're going to want to just do it this way. They're going to want to look, they're going to want to have the control to do it this way. Me personally, and I think a lot of other people are going to want to have it set up so that, you have a mode so that when you click on something, it perfectly centers your view on the panel for the optimal viewpoint, and then switches you into interfacing and clicking on things mode. And then I want to be, so like maybe I look at it and I press E and it puts me in this mode, and then I press E again and it puts me into looking around mode and I can look around, and then I come back over here, press E, it automatically centers my view perfectly on the screen and puts me into data entry mode, right? You see what I'm saying? Like something like that. I think that's probably the way it really should go, or it should be an option. I'm not about forcing people into having to play the game the way they don't want to. I'm about developers should provide as many options as is feasible so that the most number of people can get the optimal gameplay for them. Obviously, you can't do everything that way, but I think some things are easy enough to do, and I think this is probably one of them. So maybe adding an option that allows you to toggle an interface mode in the settings, where the E key itself clicks on it, perfectly centers you on it to put you in the data entry mode, and then when you're done doing your data entry, you hit E again, and it allows you to do that. Because A, I don't want to have to hold the E key down. I know it's a little thing, but little things add up into big things. And then B, I don't want to have to like, I want to be able to just click on things and not have to worry about whether I'm going to be looking around or something like that. Like this, it's just kind of annoying. But anyways, yeah, I guess that's kind of it. The cold start process is cool. I'm glad it's there. I don't know that I'm ever going to really mess with it too much because it's just a lot of extra steps for something that I can just start the game, start it up. Unless there becomes a reason to do it later on from a gameplay perspective, you know, too much damage and we have to restart it, and obviously then you have to worry about it then, but for now, it's not even a thing. So anyways, that's it for the video. Hopefully you guys had lots of fun. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early access to videos, among other perks, or you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with the thanks button. So again, thanks for watching. I also have PayPal and Patreon links if you want to go that route. So again, thanks for watching. Be sure to come back for the next video, and I'll see you then.